Thank you very much for joining us. The game is on. No disrespect to your former team, but how much are you rooting for Pavelski right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Joe, very happy for him to get a crack, and also Tom Holy, who used to work for the Sharks as the media relations guy, is a good friend of mine. So he's there as well. So we're there, and I have a few friends still in Tampa, so probably leaning towards them tonight.
Gotcha. And looking back now, what are your fondest memories from your series, the celebration after Game 7 and the summer-long celebration?
When winning the cup?
Yeah.
Oh man, jeez. It's it's a blur for one. The week after you win is a complete blur. Forget about it. But I just remember celebrating. I think the night that we won, once kind of the media left our room, our families came down. Once they left, it was just kind of the boys, and it was just a bunch of adults acting like complete idiots and kids. There was champagne and booze, and guys were doing slip and slides and just acting like complete idiots. And that's probably my fondest and best memory of the whole time. Just a bunch of guys grinding through 9 months of work and finally seeing it pay off. And again, 40-year-olds, 35, 30-year-olds acting like a bunch of kids again. It was great.
Well, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to see somebody who hit it as hard as Ovechkin did when he got it. But, yeah, I can imagine.
Well, yeah. I mean, trust me. There's the guys, when Y2K was, everyone's like, thought it was going to be the end of the world. It's kind of like that, where you're just like, you forget that there's going to be a tomorrow, and then you pay for it the next day.
Oh, yikes. But what was more rewarding, like winning the cup or an Olympic gold medal, and to do it with so many of your teammates?
Yeah, I've been asked that many, many times. That's an easy answer for me. It's the Stanley Cup. I think growing up as a Canadian boy, just playing the NHL was a dream. But of course, the Stanley Cup is kind of what you dream about. The Olympics weren't really on the map when I was a kid. At least it wasn't the goal. And then you get to grind with your guys for 9 months plus training camp, all the ups and downs. Whereas the Olympics are, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You're in and out. Again, obviously very special, but nothing compared to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an undrafted player coming out of, Miami, what was able to drive you to show your talents and prove all these scouts wrong?
Yeah, it was just trying to get my foot in the door. And I think I've been verbal about the story. The only way I got in is the golf instructor at Miami, Ohio was a part-time scout for the Florida Panthers, Bill Davich. And at the time I was runner-up for Hobie Baker. I was, arguably the best defenseman in college hockey. And I think there were 10 rounds at the time, and I couldn't even get a sniff. So it was very tough. It was just a matter of getting an opportunity. And thanks to Bill, Florida signed me. They had no clue who I was. It took me half a year in the minors and then got my shot, and, took a few years to kind of get the real opportunity. But, if it wasn't for that, for Bill, I don't know where I'd be today.
Well, I assume that you keep tabs on what the Sharks are up to, and with so much talent on the blue line, being a blue liner yourself, what is your take on kind of what happened this past season?
Jeez, how long is this? How many hours you got? It's tough to say. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that probably didn't have the best seasons. There's just so many things that can go wrong, and a lot of things did. Obviously, this is a very talented group. I think they need to make a few changes. I'm not here to discuss what those changes are, but I think a few tweaks. There's too much talent in that locker room. I think them not making the playoffs was pretty shocking, but there's definitely a few changes that need to be made.
Well, I mean, you talk about you're not here to talk about the changes right now, and I get that. But when I saw you speak at a fan event, I want to say maybe a couple years ago, you mentioned that like you weren't even interested in kind of like getting back into hockey. You were busy finishing a beautiful new home. You're enjoying taking your kids to and from school and everything like that. So now I'm just kind of wondering, the house, I'm assuming, is maybe
Done,
a lot.
done. I'm in it right now. It's done. Yeah.
Yeah. So the house is done. Are the kids sick of you yet? I think there might be an opening with the Sharks. You never know.
You know what? It took 3.5 years to build this home, and it was literally like having a full-time job. The contractor was one of my good friends, and he said he had never met anyone that's been more involved, and he's been doing it for 35 years. So that was basically took 3.5 years of my life. And only really in the last year or so have I been what I would consider really retired. And obviously with COVID now, it's kind of gotten crazy where I'm doing nothing. So I don't know that I'm ready to jump back into anything yet, but how much hockey I watch now compared to my first year, 2 years, 3 years, every year it's getting more and more. So I love the game. I love the sport, but it would have to be the right position at the right time. And that's not an easy thing to do.
But you're not getting in anybody's way. You just lifting some heavy stuff like with Faith No More, just kind of like whatever you want to do. I'll just pick that up.
I listen to, music was such a big part of my life. And I got to, pre-COVID, I got to, again, through Faith No More, just like hockey, you meet a band, you kind of meet a bunch of different guys in other bands and so on. And got to kind of do my own little mini tours with a few bands here and there. So it's just kind of living this alternate wannabe roadie lifestyle, which was great. But obviously, with COVID, it kind of put things to a halt. But just kind of really enjoying my life away from the game. And but at some point, I'll get bored. And COVID's really, for the first time in my life, I'm probably a little bit bored now. But we'll see how once life resumes, we'll see what happens.
Well, have you picked up an axe? Got a guitar?
I did. I have about 4 guitars over there. I hadn't picked it up until Corona started. Just kind of sitting around doing nothing. Got a couple of those apps. Got through a few things. Learned a little bit of Tool. Learned a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Foo Fighters. But I gotta say, it's so frustrating. It's so hard, and I don't know that my patience is good enough. So we'll see. We'll see. I picked it up, but I put it down because I was getting ready to smash my guitars. It's pretty freaking hard.
I've been playing since I'm like 13 or 14, and I'm not even.
It's insane. The calluses, the hands, the wrists. I'm like, I don't even know how these guys do it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I know like enough to get in trouble. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, see, now we know you're into some of the heavier groups, shall we say?
Yes.
And so do you have Sirius? Like, are you like jamming the Octane or?
In the car, I have a Tesla in the car. I think they use Slacker or something. So I'll have like my 10, 15 favorite bands. And then from there, it's kind of like one of those algorithms where they place, bands similar to what you like. So that's kind of what I listen to most of it. And then I have about 3,000 songs on my phone. So I have a gym here. When I work out in my gym, I usually throw my phone on shuffle and just kind of go through all my stuff.
Yeah, see now, I've been a fan, obviously, I don't know if you can tell from the background here, but been a bit of a fan for a while. And I'm remember those days in the early 2000s and mid 2000s that around your arrival, that the skate out music, you'd hear some stuff, or I should say the warm-up skate, you hear some stuff that, shall we say, was a little more edgier on the rock side, and then kind of like towards the end of your time in San Jose, all of a sudden it's just a lot of
oh God, it was a battle. I mean, again, I was in Tampa for 5 years. Thankfully, I sort of became the DJ, but the room clears right away as soon as I start playing my music. And it was pretty much the same in San Jose. And I wouldn't play my stuff. I would play the mid-level, Metallica, Foo Fighters, stuff that the guys can get behind. But the room would still clear most of the time. And I'd have like my kind of right before we would go on the ice, which would be your more mainstream stuff. So the guys would be in for that. But definitely, I don't know, rock and roll is not dead, but certainly it's there's a different type of music out there for a lot of the I don't want to say young kids because it makes me kind of old, but yeah, definitely not my style of music that's being played out there so much.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I got Octane going, and
yes, Octane was my was Turbo is the other one that I
Yep.
used to listen to. So those were kind of my two, like, I was like my 90s alternative music. That's what I was into.
Yeah, no, I believe you me. I missed that. I got to, hearing some of the
I can't do it, man. I cannot do it.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I could just picture you guys during like the warm-ups when you're out there and you're like, okay, can we get something with a guitar in it once in a while, please?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And even like, God, you want arena rock. Like it was just the same song, like AC/DC Thunderstruck. Like if I hear that song again, I'm like lose my mind. Even like Faith No More was my favorite band. They would play Epic, and I don't need to hear Epic ever again. So it was pretty tough.
Yeah, I think we can all probably move on without hearing, Welcome to the Jungle, Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman. Yeah, absolutely.
Just played into the ground.
Absolutely.
Now, this is just kind of a fun fact. And if you don't want to go down the road, I completely understand it. But one of the guys that's part of this group happens to have gotten a hold of, he purchased the jersey that you were wearing when you scored on Nabby.
Okay.
And so he wanted me to ask, like, do you ever give Nabby hell for not stopping that damn puck? But go ahead.
No, I have. And I don't mind talking about it. It's fine. I think what a lot of people don't know is that it went off the guy's shin pad. Yeah. So had I put it directly, I mean, it's bad no matter what. It's the worst result possible. But had I put it directly in, then that's I think a whole lot worse. But I was actually just trying to get by the forechecker. Yeah. Goes off a shin pad and in. But the key here is Nabby was not hugging the post, so that should never go in. And if I could try a backhand from that spot right there, I would say 1,000 times, maybe 10,000 times. It may go in once, maybe. So that was a complete freakish thing. But again, obviously we responded real well and won the series. So I wouldn't have been able to go on had we lost the series, but thankfully we managed to get it back.
Well, and what did it mean for you to score the first goal in the next game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was because it was me that was putting it in, but it was, I think that, again, I think I mentioned it in my interviews after the game. I was going to have to wait 48 hours, and I've always had a hard time after a bad game, regardless of score. If I didn't play well, I wouldn't sleep well. I wouldn't function the next day. I just kind of took I took work home with me, which was not one of my good traits. I carried that stuff with me all the time, and 48 hours was really tough on me. But yeah, certainly scoring that next game and winning the game and then winning the series made it was kind of a nice twist to the story.
Well, finally here we just there was a couple fun questions that were thrown in, and it was the Sharks pointed out some day jobs you had years ago, whether it was weatherman, movie usher, any of those things. Like, can you share any stories or like your favorite shoot from doing some of those things? Because they're all really funny.
Yeah. I think the Sharks are, well, I mean, I think they have a reputation of being one of the best teams as far as creativity when it comes to that stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff that they ask you to do as an athlete that it's just like, man, this isn't even funny. Like, I don't even want to do this. This is awful. But thankfully with the Sharks, with the weatherman and, a few of those Christmas commercials we did.
Like the stand-up comedian one?
Yeah, they gave us carte blanche a little. Well, at least they gave me carte blanche a little bit, just because sometimes the lines weren't great. And, I enjoyed it. And again, I think the Sharks, compared to other teams, have one of the better teams behind them as far as allowing for creativity and make it interesting,
Yeah.
And, with interviews and guys and their cliches, I mean, it's so boring. I can go to sleep through half of them. I mean, say something interesting, say something different. So, I think, again, the Sharks had a great team for that.
Yeah. Well, got to get pucks deep, right? That's
one game at a time, pucks deep, just can't be on our heels. We're going to be on our toes. Yeah. I don't know. I was never one for the cliches. I personally don't enjoy. I mean, the guys, you know, after you hear these same questions 1,000 times, I get it. You're bored of them. But yeah, definitely the cliches kill me.
Yeah, I will say that was one of the things that I think kind of shocked a certain amount of Sharks fans after the transition from Pavelski to Couture, is that Couture seems to be shockingly honest post-game.
Yeah, that's good. I think, you know, you have to, certain things you have to keep. I mean, I've been asked questions too where you have to keep it in the locker room. You can't reveal everything. I know the media thinks they know everything, but they don't. And certain things you have to keep within the four walls of the locker room. So I think there's a line there that you can't cross. But at the same time, you know, and Logan's great. They come in the locker room less than 5 minutes after a game, and some guys can blow it off a little easier, but when you're cut a little differently, and I think Logan is a little bit more along the lines of me, where I'm not ready to, you know, let go of this right now. So sometimes they come in a little too early, in my opinion, and, you know, you're going to get a little bit more honesty from guys that are still a little bit more fired up. Yeah,
I can completely see that. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me and checking in. Totally appreciate this. If not, you know, on the defensive coaching staff in the future, perhaps a gig as the musical director.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed. I love music my whole life. I can't play instruments as I've said, but the music's always been a big part of my life, and I wouldn't be opposed to doing something completely different, you know, adjacent to hockey, but different. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you're still local, and once we get beyond COVID and everything like that, you could just, you know, get a gig as the guy who, like, you know, unloads and loads the trucks as the shows come in and out, you know?
I have done that. I was a roadie with Faith No More for a while, and again, that was fun for me because I only did it for a couple weeks, but
yeah, the guys that are doing it on 2-year tours
for months at a time, it's a grind. It's a tough job, and it's thankless. So yeah, that's a tough gig.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again for joining us, man. Take it easy.
No problem. Thanks for having me.